Brett, it's not lost on me that literally for almost every single recording, it hasn't been every single one, but for the most part, every single recording, I have a Dr. Pepper and Pop-Tart, which means only one thing. We cannot stop making episodes until Dr. Pepper and Pop-Tart reaches out to us and becomes official sponsors of the podcast.
Yes, we need that.
Yes. It may be until I'm 80 years old, Brett, but we need to make it happen.
Yes. Hashtag make it happen, Captain.
Hashtag welcome to great granddad meet world.
Welcome to Dad's Meet World, your weekly podcast that dives into exploring episode by episode Boy Meets World from the perspective of two dads who just can't let it go. This week, I am dad number one, Brett, joined by the magic of virtual connection with dad number two.
I am Tyler, and every time I hear you talk, Brett, all I hear is woohoo! What?
That's right. Oh, yes. We had a lot of fun in the rain today. Is it raining out in Pennsylvania yet today, Tyler?
Well, here's the thing, Brett. When you work third shift, things happen in the day, and people go, hey, did you see what happened? And I go, no.
Well, see, it's raining right now in Ohio, and it rained through the day here, so I'm assuming it's had time to start moving your way. I just didn't know if it gotten to you yet.
Yeah, it's not currently raining, but it rained earlier, and we didn't have football tonight, so.
Ah, yes. Yeah. I got to run through the rain tonight. That was enjoyable.
Like intentionally, or?
Oh, because I had to run. We were over at some friend's house, and I had to run from the house out to the van. And yeah, it was pretty heavy drops.
Very nice. You know that Mythbusters proved that if you walk instead of run,
you actually get less splash on you. Yes, I saw that episode too.
And if we all had the Flash's powers, then none of us would ever be wet. But
yes, but I was wearing shorts, so it really didn't matter.
Fair.
How have you been, Tyler? What's new in your world?
I've been pretty good, Brett. Did I ever talk to you about Across the Spider-Verse?
I don't remember if we've talked about that on mic or off mic.
I can't remember either. We talked too much. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this real quick because I've been obsessed over this movie ever since it came to digital. I think I may have mentioned that I finally got to watch it, but literally this movie has been inside my brain ever since I watched it the first time, and I keep watching different things over and over again. And something that I've heard on the interwebs and from a lot of nerds out there is that this is an incomplete movie, and how dare they do this, and yada yada yada, this is ridiculous. And I think back to a specific movie, Brett. I don't know if you ever heard this. It's a little indie movie. Not many people heard of it, but it's called The Empire Strikes Back. You ever heard of it?
I think I may have heard of that one. Yeah.
Right. So for those of you that haven't seen this, as Tom Holland's Spider-Man say, have you seen this really old movie? In this really old movie, Empire Strikes Back, they literally end on a cliffhanger. It's Luke Skywalker loses a fight, Han Solo could be dead, and people are kind of separated, and you're like, what is going to happen next? Like, yes, there's a conclusion to the story, but overall, like, you're still hanging on. Like, there's a lot of things happening. The bad guy is still out there. The bad guy won, really. There's also hints towards there may be more happening in this next one, another potential bad guy. And so after, I don't know if you've actually watched this movie, but Across the Spider-Verse, for those of you that haven't, spoiler alert, but the movie ends on a cliffhanger. And it ends, and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? I need to get to the next part. And I think back to how people originally felt about The Empire Strikes Back of, oh my gosh, this movie just blew my mind and so many things are happening. And I think for this generation, the like my son's generation, I can't remember if he's actually part of Gen Z or not, but for his little generation, he's always going to remember of this movie of, you know, this cliffhanger and just being so excited and so giddy. And it's something I think is special that you don't really get that nowadays. Like, we saw this with Endgame and with Infinity War a little bit. The problem is that Endgame is so different from Infinity War that it felt like the story stopped after 5 minutes and then now here's the next movie, instead of, it feels like, because we're going to literally come into the next movie, finish what's going on, and then get to what's going to happen next. And it really does feel like, you know, we have this incredible last chapter that for kids to be excited for when it is to come out next. So that type of stuff is really cool and really exciting. Again, the difference between that and, say, like Endgame coming out is that Endgame, like, they shot both those movies back to back. So, like, it didn't feel like you had to wait that long, where it's reported at this point, I think it's not going to come out till 2025. It may get pushed back again because of these little things called the writer's strike and actor's strike. So a lot of things that are in production are getting, you know, moved backwards. So it may be potentially 3 years after this one came out for us to wait for final answers. So
yeah, they didn't have a whole lot of it in the can before the writer's strike started, so they can't really do much of adjustments.
What's going on with you?
Well, let's see. We had first home football game, so marching band took the field.
Nice.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. It was coming up. And marching band takes up about 2/3 of the field, so it was a lot of fun. They're doing a tribute to disco this year, a lot of 70s music. A lot of fun trying to keep track of 2 teenagers on the field at the same time while they're marching in formation, so that's enjoyable. Got to watch a trombone player and a clarinet player at the same time. But yeah, all the kids.
I feel like those two would be on completely different ends too.
You know, thankfully, a lot of their formations keep them on the same half of the field for a lot of the time. So we're getting lucky right now. But yeah, all the kids are back in school full time now. We've got 1 in elementary school, 2 in high school. Fun story. We had the second full day back in class. My dad was picking them up after class, and Abby came out. She's in the car for about 5 minutes, and they're trying to figure out where Toby is. They're getting ready to call him, and all of a sudden he comes wandering out of the building, completely different area than normally they would come out of the building. When he gets to the car, he says, I didn't have my map on me, because, you know, new freshman, new building, you know, it's like a 3-story building. And so, you know, the new freshmen have a map to help themselves get around the first few days. Well, what it turns out, he had walked out a door and actually walked out into the teacher's parking lot. Because he was so busy talking with his friends, he had lost track of where he was in the building. So he was just so busy going with his friends that he forgot where he was in the building and had to walk around the building to get back over to the correct side to get to my parents to pick him up.
Nice.
So I get home from work that day, and everyone has to ask, so did Toby tell you what happened after school today?
Nice.
So, Tyler, you ready to talk about Boy Meets World tonight?
I am, but I'm not ready for this next episode, mister, because I realized something.
What's that? Did you prep for the wrong episode?
Did not have our wives in the last episode.
We did not.
We recorded them, and they were not a part of it.
Ah, yes, I do remember now that we recorded it. Oh, yes. That was way back in there.
Let's just throw them in on the next episode.
Yes. Yes, Sarah and Kelly, I apologize. I was in a rush to get that one edited and out the door, and I completely forgot until Tyler just reminded me right now that you were that we recorded you.
That's fine. It's not like they listen to the podcast.
I know. This apology is not even going to be heard by either one of them.
Right. We're wasting a sorry. I
know. Well, hey, we at least put it on tape. You're wasting tape.
Hit my music.
All right, so let's talk about episode 2 of season 3, The Double Lie. All right, so in this episode, Shawn has a hot date for the weekend, but those plans are quickly derailed when Jonathan tells Shawn that he'll be out of town for the weekend. However, Shawn refuses to break off his date and ends up taking her to Jonathan's apartment, where he finds a big surprise. Now, this episode was written by Matthew Nelson, directed by Jeff McCracken, originally aired on September 29th, 1995, and currently enjoys a 7.7 IMDb rating. Now, of course, for everyone's favorite game show,
Vast Emotional Damage.
We're going to ask Tyler, what do you think the Nielsen rating was? Now, our previous episode clocked in at 19.8 million viewers for the season premiere. What do you think The Double Lie came in at?
I'm going 20.
You're going 20. You think they got a bump in this episode?
I think so.
Our actual tally is 17.2 million viewers. Oh, yes. Where's I need yes, good looking people. I have multiple soundboards on this iPad here. Yeah, there was a little bit of a dip this week. Lost about 2.5 million viewers from episode 1 to episode 2. Not uncommon in the 90s for broadcast television to have a dip. And as we go through, you'll see the peaks and valleys. It's like a roller coaster, kind of like our grade sheets, which also, good-looking people, if you noticed on our social channels, did not post last Friday like it was supposed to. And I didn't notice until Monday that it had not auto-posted like it was supposed to. Oh. So those are there now. So anyway, let's take it away. We're going to open up in the school hallway 2 weeks in a row, not opening in the Matthews house. We're opening in the hallways again. And, well, not again. We're opening in the hallways this week. Last week it was in Mr. Turner's apartment. But Corey and Shawn are watching this Veronica Watson very carefully as she breaks up with her boyfriend. And let's get Veronica out of the way here. Veronica is played by Erin J. Dean. It's first and only time that we're going to see her on Boy Meets World. And she's only got 8 credits in Hollywood as far as being an actor. Productions like Monty, Lover's Lane, The Journey of Alan Strange. She hasn't appeared on camera since the year 2000.
I cannot believe that.
Well, IMDb never lies, Tyler.
Never.
It does, but I don't think it is this time. Yes.
Can I just say real quick? If people have listened long enough, they know that I quite enjoyed the history of Power Rangers. And one of the actors who played one of the not original Power Rangers, but pretty early on in the show, they had said that they took a day and just like it was either Wikipedia or IMDb that they went through and edited completely to have it be accurate and submitted it and got an immediate response like, sorry, this isn't accurate and we cannot take your opinion into consideration.
Well, I do know with IMDb, actors tend to be responsible for a lot of their own entries. So it could be either one. Well, so there's a fun little comment here from Corey as they're watching. They're very, very voyeuristic on this.
Ooh, like it in the pocket.
Yes,
Very
it's
interested.
like they're watching TV right in front of their face.
I know. They get their thrills. Well, so they get the "I never want to see you again." That moment comes.
Yes.
And Shawn seizes upon his moment. So let's listen into Shawn's moves here.
Veronica, I saw what just happened with you and Dennis.
Look, if you're asking me out for Friday night, I really don't think I'm ready.
Yeah, I understand. How's Saturday?
Perfect.
Beautiful. I'll pick you up at 8.
That was a good move because word of their breakup was bound to spread quickly.
Veronica!
I'm sorry. Busy Saturday.
Busy Saturday she is. Busy, busy, busy. Man, I wish I could be a fly on that wall.
Maroon, you're gonna be there.
Even better.
But I'll ask my parents if it's okay.
Why would you do that?
Because you're staying with us this weekend, remember? Mr. Turner's going out of town.
What? I never heard that.
Shawn, I was standing right there when he told you.
Where was I?
And again, we get Shawn with his inability to hear adults when they speak to him.
This is a great Shawn-centric episode. Like, Corey is here, but like we're seeing a new side of Corey, which will be the more consistent side of Corey, which is I pay attention and I listen and no one else listens around me, which drives me crazy.
Yes.
And Shawn goes on the deep end of just not listening for anything to save his life.
Yes.
Yeah, but I will say that Shawn has laid the groundworks of his coolness in school. So all he has to do is go up to a girl and say, hey, just saw what happened. And she's like, oh, I can't on Friday. Okay, give me my space. What about Saturday? Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. This is Shawn almost Eric season 6 levels of dumb. I wish I could be a fly on that wall. Maroon, you're gonna be there. Even better.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I like how he's like, I'm gonna pick you up at 8. It's like, well, curfew's at 10. It's like, huh, that doesn't give me much time at all. Stinking metric system.
Yeah.
Oh, that stinking metric system.
So they head in, Mr. Turner walks in past them. They head into his classroom to try and sweet talk Mr. Turner. So we find out why Mr. Turner is not going to be around, why Shawn is hanging out, or why Shawn is hanging out and staying with the Matthews. Mr. Turner is going to be flying out to Pittsburgh to go to a buddy's wedding. And, I like how Shawn tries to sweet talk him.
Why the heck do I miss you so much?
Did you drop a few LBs? You look good. Very clearly, Mr. Turner knows that Shawn wants something. And we get another peek into the runner of what?
Where was I?
And just Shawn again not knowing what's going on. And we get Mr. Turner being very patient and taking just another moment and trying to get through to Shawn.
Do you listen?
Which Corey still has to translate because Shawn is still not understanding. Mr. Turner's out of town. Shawn is staying with Corey. they talked about this. But apparently, Shawn hears a buzzing sound when adults talk.
Yeah.
So Mr. Turner's just going to talk over
You and I
it.
have both talked to teenagers before where you see a look in their eyes, you go, you're not hearing any of this, are you?
Oh, yes. It happens in my own house. It's happened with so many teenagers I've talked to over the years. You've had it happen with you. My buddy Chris is getting married. You're staying at the Matthews. I rented a tuxedo. You got me? And Shawn wants Mr. Turner to change his plans because people get married every day. And here we get another runner that we're going to see through the episode. Veronica Watson is presented as this. I hesitate to say she's presented as this prize, but she is definitely put on a pedestal as an ultimate girl to be dating. I'll try. I'll phrase it that way.
The problem is that's the way the writers are basically making it. This is the girl who is an it girl, popular,
Veronica Watson,
right? Almost like she could be like the daughter of like the richest person, like of the Watson family.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a famous Watson family, but like the way they make it seem almost like she's on the same par as that one girl he tried to date the year prior to. That fashionista, I can't remember, from the other side of the tracks. I can't remember the girl's name, but it's almost like she and her are like from the same cloth, apparently. But again, that insinuates you have rich people and also poor people in the same school, which in Philadelphia, I think not. But that's a whole other story for another day.
I read into it more as just she's just that it girl, less fashionable, fancy, rich girl, just more it girl. Like if you watch How I Met Your Mother, there's that one girl, I'm blanking on her name, that's the ultimate girl next door that Ted and a bunch of other guys that whenever she's only ever been single a handful of times, and every time that she's single, the guys she dates is she's like together with for years because she's the ultimate girl next door and everyone who meets her falls in love with her. So I always read into this with Veronica Watson as being that type of it girl.
But she is very fashion forward thinking and, wears things that make you question
she's
where
not poor.
she gets her budget for fashion.
Yes, she's not poor. I read the costuming as not from a trailer park per se. But yes, either way, she is presented as the Veronica Watson. So, I'll return my non-refundable plane ticket. My buddy Chris will just push back his wedding. Chicken Keeves will have died in vain. That way the world could make Shawn Hunter happy. And Shawn buys it.
There's times when he does not hear sarcasm for a moment.
Oh, yes, there. Oh, and we get a classic, "Are you kidding me?" from Mr. Turner. I have it on my board, but I can't see it.
Yeah, they're trying to make a big deal of this date, and we never see this girl again, so...
Yeah.
Was it a big deal?
In the grand scheme of things, no. Not a big deal.
But Corey's trying to help Shawn and understand that, hey, Topanga never complains about a cozy date at my parents' house. Yes. So,
And, I think we could have benefited a little bit from Topanga. We get a lot of talking about Topanga here, but we don't. Topanga's not in the episode.
I wondered if this is one of those episodes where she was, traveling with daddy places.
She was taking another guitar to Bruce Springsteen.
Must be. Yeah, awkward and weird. I don't know. Didn't really care for that part of it as well. But I will also say this world has established there is a poetry reading place that they can get coffee and go make out for 2 hours straight and no one would be the wiser.
Yep. Even with your parents in the back of the room and Mr. Feeney at the other side.
Yeah, it's just there is options for this date, and also he could have just said, "Let's get together sooner."
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I get in the adult world, starting a date at like 8 o'clock is normal. But that's a date that's going to last hours on end potentially. And, you know, it'll be the next day before you're done seeing each other if it's going well. But for high schoolers,
a high school date starting at 8 on a Friday night is kind of late.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. A Friday night football game starts has a kickoff at 6 o'clock. So, I mean, a date starting at 8, unless they're going to the football game and going afterwards, I mean, that's just anachronistic.
Yeah. But I mean, but again, I hate to say it like this all the time, but I don't think these writers were ever popular enough to be able to do the things they're claiming that Shawn can do in high school. Because Shawn is the ultimate fulfillment for them of this is what high school would have been like. And even for probably some of these actors as well, like they didn't have this lifestyle because they didn't go to regular high school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They didn't live a normal world. Hollywood is a bubble, man. We don't live inside that bubble, but they do live in that bubble.
They're in the bubble, man.
Right.
Yes.
Just pay the writers. Pay the damn writers.
Yes, I agree. So anyway, Corey's going to take.
Hold on 1 second. Let's not pass this for a moment. I think this is really one of those weird things where everybody in the world is like, yeah, just pay them, whatever. And there's just like 5 guys that go, but I don't want to pay them. And those 5 guys have the power to shut down a whole industry. Isn't that weird?
Sadly, yes and no. I've come to understand and accept that that's normal, and it's sad that I have.
Yes. But Brett, we have another issue that we have to address in this episode.
Oh, which issue?
Yes. Well, Eric could fail a class from last year, apparently.
Yeah, how do you have an incomplete grade from a closed grading period?
I don't know.
I'm wearing my episode's gonna episode shirt tonight, so it's gonna do a lot of heavy lifting.
Season has to season, Brett. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I need something. I need something heavier than episode's gonna episode. We need to come up with something that does heavier lifting. Because I'm calling bull on
Shenanigans.
that one. Shenanigans. Yeah,
I call a goobois.
A goobois. There we go. A goobois. Oh, yes.
Yes, but apparently Eric never turned in a paper about the Manhattan Project, and Feeney allowed him to have it be an incomplete until he turned it in.
Yes, let's hear that interaction.
Oh, Mr. Matthews, a question?
Who's the French guy that fixed the milk?
The clock is ticking, Mr. Matthews.
What the heck are you talking about?
A piece of unfinished business, that 10-page paper you owe me.
What? The semester just started. You never said anything about a paper? Louis B. Pasteur.
I'm talking about the paper that was due last year.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Came up with that milk guy, though. You saw that. You were here.
Now, I suggest you get that paper to me by Monday, or your incomplete will become an F completely.
It's not going to happen, Mr. Feeney. I've been working on it all summer. Up here.
Where it's safe.
Now, if this were an episode taking place in January, I'd buy it because you're going from a fall, winter, spring semester. But there's no way over summer. He's advanced a grade. He can't do that with an incomplete assignment.
Right. I mean, the only thing I could imagine is he already gave him a grade for it of what he assumes he's going to turn in. Well, yeah, I don't think that's possible. You know what? We need to ask here's what we're going to do. I don't think she's awake, but I'm going to ask our
teacher extraordinaire. Well, while you're asking our teacher extraordinaire, I want to briefly cycle back to just a really weird thought that Shawn has about the date, because Corey is going to run interference and handle his parents so Shawn can have an uninterrupted date.
I'm going to dedicate this date to you, man.
How do you dedicate a date to someone, I wonder?
How do I answer that?
Corey responded the correct way.
Yes, he did. I don't want to know how you would dedicate a date to anyone. Yes. But very, very apropos that we are watching a show that has a reference to the paper on the Manhattan Project right now, considering what movies just came out this summer.
I was thinking about that as well, and potentially there's a good chance that has a Best Oscar nomination as well in its future.
Yes, I was seeing that as well.
Oh my gosh, I got a response back.
Let's hear it.
Direct quote. It will vary by district. This is what our school says. Incomplete class grades. A student who receives an incomplete has a maximum of 2 weeks after the last week of course to fulfill the assignment. Notice of the incomplete shall be mailed to the student and parent guardian after the course. If the student does fulfill the class assignment, the earned grade will be recorded. Every school has a different policy and approach to this, although most school districts have a timeline in which the work must be completed. That feels fair to me.
Very much so.
Not just a handshake agreement, which is what it feels like in this episode, that
Yes.
it's actually like the parents get notified and they know how long child has to complete the work.
And generally, courses ending within a lot of school districts, that 2-week window is not going to have much, if any, overlap with a new semester of classes. Traditionally, your semesters end right before Christmas and at the end of the school year. So,
Yeah.
2 weeks is, I'd say, fair. Definitely not 3 months plus.
Yeah, it feels like this was way too long of a wait, and I don't know. I'm going to call it. There's some nepotism for Mr. Feeney when it comes to the two Matthews boys.
Definitely. He's really playing favorites with them.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump to the Matthews kitchen. And we've got we've got a little bit of tension between Corey and Eric, because we see Eric has decided to purchase a term paper from Term Papers by Gerard. You get a B, or wait, is it a B or a C, or your paper's free? A D, or if you get a D, your paper is free.
Yes, if you get a D, your paper's free.
Yes, Eric somehow Eric got a pre-approved and activated credit card sent to him, and has now used it to purchase a term paper. Okay. And did not give Corey a message from Topanga, even though Corey was upstairs the whole time. And we get one of the most iconic interchanges between Eric and Corey throughout the whole season, when Corey is complaining to Eric about not getting the message.
Hey, little bro, life's tough. Get a helmet.
Very wise words from Eric.
Yes.
Followed by a slap in the forehead.
I remember Disney Channel playing that clip a lot.
Yes.
That may have been the most active one.
I remember seeing that on so many commercials on the Disney Channel. And I will admit, I have used that piece of advice many times over for many people.
And the smack on the forehead.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, man. What do you think about that advice?
I mean, it's a great moment, and it's so great when he brings it back around at the end of the episode. And it's one of those things that detracts away from the argument of we've never been friends, we were never close, because they were, and they still are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, their relationship is something special, and this season really lays the groundwork of them actually being more friend-like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have many thoughts for the last episode of this season, but for right now, they are interacting well and a lot with each other.
They're very believable as brothers at this point. Which
Well, also, they have good chemistry together, and that's a
They
fact.
have fantastic chemistry, yeah. Yeah. And this leads into some more Eric snark, Eric sass, snarky Eric, however you want to put it, that I was watching it the other night and I just burst out laughing.
Hunter! Hey, you're staying with us this weekend. That's great. You guys don't spend enough time together. Why don't you guys just wear like one big shirt?
I don't know why. I just love that.
That's a great joke.
It is. I love it. It works.
It does.
Why don't you just wear like one big shirt? So Corey's got all systems ready to go. Date's on. He lets us in that his parents made reservations at the Hillside Grill, but he has actually canceled their reservations, and they don't know about it. And that means that they're going to have to wait an hour to be seated because they don't have reservations, and they'll just have to wait to get in. So by the time they get home, Shawn's going to be on a second date. This is interesting high school boy logic. If I got to a restaurant and my reservations were lost, I'm just going to go find a different restaurant, but that's me. And we learned that Shawn likes to rest his lips before a big date.
Yeah, that was weird. It didn't make a whole lot of sense.
But apparently it works because as we transition to the darkened living room and we see Shawn on his date, he gets a compliment that they're great lips and they're so well rested. Well, he offers well rested, but she agrees with him.
Again, very weird, very awkward.
Yes. And in true sitcom fashion, who shall come walking in the door, interrupting the date? But we have Alan and Amy both. And I love the scene. I really do. And Alan does exactly what I would do in this scene. If I came home and a couple of teenagers were making out on my couch.
Yeah. Look, I will say we were watching a show that something little worse than this was happening, but not too dissimilar. And I literally said to my wife, I have no idea what I would do in this situation if like I walk into our children like being anything like that with another human being, but I don't know if I'd be able to handle it very well.
I can, there were times in my life as my children were much younger that I would envision myself with much more violent reactions. But as I sit here now, I definitely see myself just kind of plopping myself down on the couch beside them and just staying there.
Fair.
Yeah. I don't see myself getting up and leaving the room like Alan did, but yeah, we've got Alan and Amy coming in. We've got Corey shocked and disappointed that his scheme did not work because they found a great little place across the street. Good burger, romantic meal, cozy booths, in and out in under 90 minutes. And but they can take a subtle hint because Corey asks if they're still open. And they go make some coffee in the kitchen. Corey, Amy goes make coffee in the kitchen. Alan picks up the remote and turns the TV on to look for fly fishing. And
Which
decides
this is the first scene of the season with Alan.
It is. It's sad that it's the first scene, but it's a great first scene with Alan.
Right.
You know me.
Well,
I love Alan Matthews.
Right. But it's the transition of him becoming more of a, for lack of a word, a cool dad. Like he is treating Corey and Shawn more in the way he was treating Eric in the first season.
Exactly. And it makes sense because Eric, high school first season. Third season here, we've got Shawn and Corey third season. And, technically Shawn's not his kid, even though 15. In first season, we started out with 11 years old in the pilot?
Yeah. 4 years came quick.
Yeah. But even though Shawn is not his kid, he effectively kind of views him as his kid by this point. But still under his house for the weekend, so I'm sure there are some rules in place for this date.
Oh, yeah. No, I could see myself. Oh, my gosh. I do this with teenagers that I know all the time. Love just like getting in between them and not letting them be all canoodly and everything. So, yeah. But I love them. They decide to walk away so then their date could continue. And then doorbell rings. Eric goes to get it. It's Feeney at the door.
Ah, yes. Mr. Feeney, welcome to my date. Mr. Feeney comes over. We get a lot of misdirection and leading because he's got a package in his hand.
I love that Eric is ready for the hammer to come down. This whole paper situation.
And Mr. Feeney finally reveals it's just the postage hasn't been paid in full, and he's got a bill. And so $3.50.
So he needs to pay for it too.
Pay up, bucko. And so we'll pick up here. I got another clip for us.
Here you go, Mr. Feeney. Here is a $5. You can keep that change.
Oh, joy. Early retirement.
Shawn, is this the weirdest date you've ever been on?
Not really. On one blind date, I got fixed up with my Uncle Mary. Long story.
Hey, George. How are you?
Just in time for coffee.
Oh, I don't mind if I do.
Oh, good. It's decaf, though. It's not.
People, please. Can't you see the man here is on a date? I mean, that's Veronica Watson, for crying out loud.
Veronica Watson again. And so everyone kind of.
The way they look at him is like, oh,
they all lean in.
You are Veronica Watson.
That is Veronica Watson.
How is it that I don't get it. Episode after episode, I get it. Episode after episode.
And I don't think Alan and Amy necessarily are leaning in because they recognize her as Veronica Watson, but they're just kind of leaning in for a look. I don't know. Maybe they're thinking maybe I'm supposed to know her, but the image is funny.
Yeah. It is. And I do love the chaos that's ensuing. And I have to say for Shawn, you can't be creative at all. Like, you couldn't have taken her to Chubby's or anything like that. Like, the world is your oyster,
really.
man.
I mean,
like, if Shawn should have seen the 2 hours as a challenge to take her wherever he could in 2 hours and get back and sneaking around and all that jazz. Like,
seriously, he's got no, you said it, creativity. Just sitting on the Matthews couch.
Well, now I have to wonder how many dates Corey has set up for him and helped him to be able to do the date successfully.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I do love this next scene, by the way. And I sit here and I watch this and I go, oh, I see that future.
That's going to be me. Yeah, I've driven my own child home from a date or two. Not like this. Thankfully, I didn't have to do this, but I love that. I'm turning into my father.
Yeah. Hey, nothing but honesty here, good-looking people. The words I've said before, I literally went, oh my gosh, my father just spoke through me.
There have been more than a few times where I have spoken exactly the same words with the same inflection at the same moments. Reason that my father has said. Good looking people, we creepy. All become our parents at some point in some way. So good night, Veronica. Good night. Good night. Good night. So Shawn won't go drop her off at the door because if I get out of this car, I ain't ever coming back.
It definitely implies some things, but also of Are her parents cool with you just staying there all night, Shawn?
Yeah.
That also leads on the question of, if her parents aren't really active and involved and aren't aware that she also sneaks out, why did they just go to her house?
Yeah, and I have to wonder too, if his style is being cramped by a time limit at the Matthews on the couch, what was he going to do at Turner's that was going to be anywhere different, knowing what Turner's reaction is going to be at the end of this episode? What was he expecting different at Turner's?
Right. I mean, eventually Turner was going to return home.
Yeah. Anyway. So we get back to the Matthews. Shawn's pacing. He's got to get out of here. He can't take another shower. He's used up all the cold water.
Okay, I just have to say, there's no such thing as a cold water tank. There's just a hot water tank. You can't use up all the cold water, Shawn. It comes cold. The hot water tank heats it up.
It's always cold. Again, I'd love to be a fly on that wall. This is Shawn in full blown hormone
love, he's
mode.
Like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. I was like, there's a shock. You staying here, you leaving.
Shawn Hunter breaking curfew. I was thinking one night when you stay here, could you actually, stay here?
The last time he did that was after the whole pipe bomb incident.
I know, the cherry bomb day. I love this. He tries to go out the window. Corey, your mom and dad are down there making out. God bless them.
God bless them. Okay. Let's talk about the brokenness that is Corey Matthews for a moment, because if a friend says to me, "Oh my gosh, I see your parents making out," I'd be like, gross. How often are Alan and Amy making out at their house that, for Corey's like, yeah, it's just another day.
I think it's healthy that Corey didn't seem happy in his God bless him. He seemed like he was trying to find some way to be encouraging and not go gross, but
yeah. Well, it's kind of like, it is what it is. Like that's all I feel like. Is he's just like, yeah, they do that.
Yeah.
Some married couples are like that, of just, they don't care who's around them. They'll just start kissing and all that jazz, and it's their house. Who cares? I mean, I have no problem kissing my wife in front of my children, and my children don't respond yet to, those grossnesses, but I know you guys like to use it as a scare tactic to get them away from you.
Oh, we do. If we want our kids to leave the room, we just announce that we're going to start making out, and they'll leave.
Okay, odd question. Have you watched the Bluey episode with the whole smoochy smooch?
A smoochy kiss? I just want a smoochy kiss.
Yes, where the mom tries to give dad smoochy, and they're like, "No, trying you can't.
He's ours." They try to keep him from her, and they find out how disgusting Bandit really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I peed on myself.
Episode. Yeah, I giggle at that because, trying to, that's why. Yeah, trying to help children understand why adults are still willing to give smoochy kisses even though we're both gross. Makes me giggle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anywho, back to the Dads Meet World podcast, not the Dads Meet Bluey.
Yeah, this is not Bluey. So Shawn's escape route is blocked. He's trying to think really outside the box.
Shawn always goes out the window, so the way he always leaves is blocked because, husband and wife who love each other are out back making out.
So he's going to go up the chimney, over the roof, Shawn, down the drain pipe. His parents are in the backyard. So that means the front door is completely unguarded, wide open. So what you're saying is you could go out the front door.
That's so crazy, it just might work.
I want my smoochy kiss.
What disturbs me in this whole situation, Brett, is once he gets to Turner's, because Shawn's exact words are, prepare to enter Hotel Del Shawn. I get that this whole episode has innuendos all over the place. There's innuendo with Mr. Feeney, Mr. Turner, and the Matthewses, but it feels like they're also making innuendo with Shawn, and it feels like we're way too early for those type of innuendos.
Yeah.
With him.
Yeah, because we didn't even touch on Mr. Feeney's.
It's not that early for high schoolers to think they're ready for those things, but as an adult, as a dad, I'm like, it's too early for you guys to have these type of innuendos of potentially making poor choices.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a great look. It's not a. I would have preferred a different line, even if he had just gone with Casa de Shawn or something else. But the whole Hotel de Shawn was it kind of drives up the ick factor a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, Shawn opens a door and we get low soft music, low mood lighting, and John and a date on the couch and lots of, oh, this is bad. This is bad. Is this bad? It's pretty bad. Oh, yes. And we get...
Okay. Hold on. I just have to now make a comment of how long has Shawn been at the Matthewses? How long have these two been together? And they're just on the couch making out?
Let's see. We're going to say this is 10. I'm going to say this is probably 11 o'clock by the time they get back to 11 o'clock on Saturday night. By the time they get
yeah, this is Saturday.
Yeah, this is Saturday. So why did they wait until 8 o'clock on Saturday night?
If the two of them have been together all weekend, maybe, hopefully. But it's just this awkwardness of like, what have you been doing this whole time that Shawn's been at the Matthewses for now? This is the second night. Unless he only came for the one night, which is weird and crazy to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say episode's gonna episode here because if this wasn't ABC,
not acceptable.
Well, if this wasn't ABC, it could probably be a lot worse. But
That's true.
I'm gonna chalk it up to inconsistent writing, and episode's gonna episode.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, yeah. So now an argument goes into effect of, what the heck are you doing here? Why are you bringing a teenage girl into my apartment?
Well, let's backtrack for 1 second here.
Sorry, yes.
Because I want to get Chris in here. Chris is actually the woman who John is playing tonsil hockey with. Chris is played by Lisa Wilcox. She's actually appeared twice before on Boy Meets World. Her voice has, anyway. She played a TV voice in episode 109, Class Pre-Union, and in 118, It's a Wonderful Night. This is the last time she'll actually show up in Boy Meets World. She has 55 acting credits to her name. 18 of them are upcoming projects. She's shown up in General Hospital, MacGyver, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Star Trek The Next Generation, Walker, Texas Ranger, and many others.
Yeah. I will say the fourth Nightmare on Elm Street, there's a really cool scene with her in it where she is in a movie theater and all of a sudden she's in a scene in the movie. And the way they do it is still really cool. And it's one of those things where back once upon a time, filmmakers had to be creative, and we don't get that as much nowadays.
It's really easy to rely on CGI now and not have to work so practically.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to see some really cool practical effect, I recommend going and catching that. Is it an incredible movie masterpiece? No. Is it better than a lot of the garbage coming out now? Yes.
Well, let's hear a little bit of John and Shawn's conversation here.
Hey, wait a minute. How was the wedding, pal?
That's not the point.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, the Big Apple, the City of Angels.
Okay, look, we're getting a little off the subject here.
Yeah, that tuxedo, does it come in tuxedo?
Hey, enough. I'm the adult here. You're the kid, remember?
Well, what's that mean? You can lie and I can't?
Look, I needed a little privacy, okay? I got my own life, you know?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was cramping your style by living here.
This is my place. I don't have to defend myself.
Yeah, your place. That says it all.
You know, we were watching this episode earlier as a family, and my wife and I had this really brief discussion about how when you have teenagers, you do have to defend yourself. Like, because teenagers are smart enough to go, well, why don't we have the things that other people have? And why do we keep these traditions? And why is this important to us? And it's not them trying to be disrespectful all the time. It's just them trying to understand why you as an adult make decisions that you make, and should they also make those same decisions and choices.
Yep.
And so like they're getting into this argument and fight, and I just don't think either of them realize of how important these type of conversations are to their growth and their relationship. Because I remember having these discussions with my parents, and I can't wait for the day when I get to have them with my sons. But you know, he's trying to make sense of his place in the world. And Jonathan, instead of naturally growing into this role of someone constantly asking questions of them, he's thrusted into it as a teenager. And that's really tough to deal with that.
He's used to being able to send them home at the end of the day. And now all of a sudden he's bringing one home with him at the end of the day. And the questions continue and go beyond what he's presenting from the front of the classroom.
Right.
And this is the point in a relationship where he's used to just kind of backing off. So, yeah.
Well, and he's used to being in charge and in control. There's a level of control in a classroom that he's lost a bit of that control in the apartment.
So Shawn leaves. Turner heads over to the Matthews looking for him, and he disrupts Mr. Feeney. And Mr. Feeney makes
a motorcycle in the shuttle
just land. And Mr. Feeney makes a comment about the arrangement he has with Shawn of the potential of ruining one's private life. And George, my private life is far from ruined. Well, I meant mine. We find out that Mr. Feeney's dentist appointment, which we did not mention earlier in the episode.
We did not. I knew we were going to get back to it.
We didn't mention. Well, his dentist is actually looking for where he keeps the towels. Well, I'll be late Monday morning. Dental appointment. She is my dentist. Mr. Feeney, you dog.
I'll go Feeney. I'll go Feeney. I'll go Feeney. Don't worry. And that's not us making that up, people. If you haven't watched it, eventually you'll know what that's about.
Oh, yes. We'll get to that sometime.
Yeah. But I love how Alan sees him. He's like, oh, hey, good to see you. Can't talk.
Not a good time.
Yeah, not a good time.
But he's looking for Shawn, so Alan acquiesces. They call for Shawn. Corey comes downstairs. As you can probably tell, I'm not Shawn.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And I'm glad I don't know.
It feels good telling the truth.
Feels good telling the truth.
Where's he? What's
you
the
supposed to be in
beauty here? Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Yeah. And he confesses that he messed up. He told Shawn a white lie that he was going out of town for the wedding, and he didn't stay. He didn't go anywhere. He stayed here with a date. And Alan calls it completely. Shawn showed up with his girlfriend at the apartment, caught him at his date.
Oh, you're good.
And then we get Amy calling from upstairs that the bathtub's full, the champagne's poured, candles are lit, and Jonathan's here. Anthony Quinn's face acting is absolutely hilarious. He is.
It's really good.
He is cringing. Good looking people, if you watch this scene, pay attention to Anthony's face. It is hilarious. And Amy's, I don't know why Amy feels the need to cover up what they're going to be doing. And we can finish that conversation we're having.
I'm sure it's just a natural.
It's embarrassment, yes, but
let's ignore what I've said before and just we have to talk.
Yes. 1995, it was a little more reserved, more conservative time, especially for TV. But yes, I mean, you've kind of tipped your hand. He knows exactly what's going to be happening.
Sorry.
Nope, don't do it. So anywho,
he's gonna take off and look for Shawn.
I love how he goes, I'm sorry, I'm in your way. I'm gonna go. And Al calls him out. Like, where do you think you're gonna go? You're gonna find him. Like, what are you gonna do? And I like this honesty of, I took him in because I thought it was the right thing to do, and now I feel like I'm floundering.
Yeah, and I really love the conversation that he has with Alan, and I clipped it.
Alan, what the heck was I thinking when I asked Shawn to come live with me? I'm a single guy. I'm not ready to be a parent yet.
Hey, I got 3 kids and I'm still not ready. Jonathan, I seen you with Shawn. You're great with him.
I wasn't so great an hour ago.
So you made a mistake. You didn't break him in half. Don't be so hard on yourself. You're only human.
Yeah, why do I feel so stupid?
Well, welcome to the Parent Club. Alan Matthews, member since 1978.
What got you in?
First time Eric was 4, I lost him in an amusement park.
Oh.
He rode the Colossus for 6 hours.
Oh. The Colossus, the one with the...
And then the... Yeah, you're going to make mistakes. The trick is learning how to deal with them.
And that's advice that every parent needs to hear before they have kids and needs to hear constantly as their kids grow up. That you're going to make mistakes. You are human. You're never going to be the perfect parent. And that's advice that Alan is uniquely suited to give Jonathan in this moment, especially since Eric walks in the room right after he gives this advice and showcases it for him. But Alan's not a perfect person, but Alan is a fantastic father. And he is a fantastic model for Jonathan to look to in this moment.
Well, and it's just that every now and then you need to hear you are doing a good job. You trying is a good job. And I mean, I don't think I've ever met a parent that doesn't feel like they're not ruining their child's life. So any parent I meet that feels like they're doing everything exactly right and they've never done everything wrong for their kid, those are the parents I worry about. So, I mean, Turner is being a parent. Turner's being the parent that his parents, that Shawn's parents never were for him, really. Maybe they did stress about him and worry about him and loved him, but they didn't. It's never shown that they take it so personally with him.
Yeah, it's shown that his parents were very flighty and very in and out, whereas Turner is very much here.
The moment that they start getting into this fight, he leaves. That's what's been modeled for Shawn. Of you get into an argument and then someone needs to leave. You get into an argument, someone needs to leave. And it's not easy for him to have these harder conversations. Eventually, Turner goes back home.
He does, and Shawn is there waiting for him because he realized there was no place to go. When he got there, he came back.
Yeah, which I wonder if that means he went to the trailer park maybe, and then realized that his home's not there. And knowing the type of people that his family is, they're not going to have room for him. So there is nowhere for him to go there.
It's very possible. I like that. I like that headcanon. So they decide to have to have the conversation that they should have had in the first place. But realistically, I mean, I wouldn't have expected them to with how high the emotions were in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I like that he makes it clear of, this is harder than we thought it was going to be. And trying to navigate of, being your friend, but also being authority of you, not just in the classroom, but in your life is a little harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And I like how their conversation turns out. And I clipped that as well.
15-year-old kids should not be bringing back girls to empty apartments.
So what are you going to do? Kick me out?
Oh, Shawn, come on. Every time one of us messes up doesn't mean somebody's got to take off. We got to talk these things out. Okay? So look, we both messed up. All right? We'll just do it right next time.
John, do you ever feel like the walls are sort of closing in and you got no place to go where you can just be alone?
Yeah. That's probably why I tried to run my little scam.
Yeah, that's why I ran mine. Look, if you want to be alone with your girlfriend, you can just tell me. I can find things to do.
Legal things?
In certain states.
Okay, I believe you.
And if I want to be alone with my girlfriend, you'll get lost too, right? I had to take a shot.
I love the idea, or what John tells him, that we got to talk these things out. Every time one of us messes up doesn't mean someone's got to take off, because Shawn's immediate reaction is, when being told that he did something that he's not supposed to, is, what are you going to do? Kick me out? Mm-hmm. Because this is what he knows. When he screws up, he gets thrown out. That's what he knows. But John is showing him, no, we work things through, and this is what we're going to do. And John takes another big step by admitting they both messed up. For Shawn to see an adult admit to him that the adult messed up as well is another huge thing that he doesn't have experience with.
I would say for him to admit that he ran a scam on him is big.
Very much so. Yeah.
So
big for both of them.
And I do love that they're trying to find a compromise and trying to find a way to see more eye to eye on all this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And I'm of two minds about how they choose to end it. Because on the one hand, I love that John knows exactly what's going on when he says, it's your move. And Shawn's just kind of looking at him. And John says, Veronica's behind the couch, isn't she? Because John knew it. On the other hand, I really wish that they would have had Shawn be honest and not had Veronica there at all. And that it would have just been Shawn coming back because he really didn't have anywhere else to go.
But Brett, you're missing the most important thing to this show.
It's Veronica Watson.
Episode as to episode.
Yeah. I would have preferred the second alternative there. But yes, so we're going to end it with Eric's term paper turned in to Mr. Feeney. And Eric doesn't know if it was a topic or the right move, but he really just enjoyed writing the paper. But his assigned topic was the Manhattan Project, and the paper in his hands is Abraham Lincoln. And it actually is a copy of the paper written by Sean Hunter, which is
Abraham Lincoln, the best beard in history.
Of which Mr. Feeney particularly enjoyed his comparative analysis.
Colonel Sanders, what's up with that?
And Mr. Feeney, Eric admits that he paid for this paper, wrote the paper. And he admits that he ordered it through Term Paper Writing Service, which Mr. Feeney is familiar with. And they're still both very confused, at which point Corey comes in and...
the fact is that Feeney says, yes, They're good.
So clearly, Mr. Feeney has seen more than a couple of term papers by Gerard. So we get Corey coming in, and
Hey, big bro. Life's tough. Get a helmet.
and Eric has to go make some more room at the dinner table. And chases Corey through the halls of the school.
He's got a really weird scream he does also.
Yes, I like that.
I do too. It's a good way to end the episode, and also just a nice, lovely memory for the two of them.
Yes, it is. They're making memories together. Not the kind that Mr. Feeney or their parents want them to make, but memories nonetheless.
Yes, memories nonetheless.
Yes. So that is the double lie. So Tyler, let's hear all about your deep dives.
People, 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 people. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
Alrighty. I actually have a laptop in front of me for once. Yay! Alright. So, I wasn't going to initially do this one, but let's start with Louis Pasteur. He's a French chemist and microbiologist, renowned for his discovery of the principles of vaccination, microfermentation, and pasteurization, the last of which was named after him. His research in chemistry led to remarkable breakthroughs in the understanding cause of prevention of diseases, which laid the foundations of hygiene, public health, and such much of modern medicine. So, hey, good to know.
Yeah.
Born in December 27th, 1822, and passed away September 28th, 1895, at the age of 72. Let's go with they mentioned the Colossus. I think they may be referring to the Twisted Colossus, which is a roller coaster from Six Flags. It's a steel coaster, by the way. Originally designed and built by International Amusement Devices, the roller coaster opened as Colossus, a dual-tracked roller coaster, on June 29th, 1878, which they mentioned 1978, which means they would have been there the year it opened. It was the tallest, fastest wooden roller coaster in the world, and the first with two drops greater than 100,000 feet. Colossus became well known after appearance in television, including National Lampoon Vacation and made-for-TV movie Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, apparently. Yes, for 19 years, it was the park's main attraction until the opening of Superman The Escape. And after 36 years in operations, closed the Colossus on August 16th, 2014. Rocky Mountain Constructions renovated the ride, converting its wooden tracks to steel, allowing for inversion of the steep drop. It remains much of its wooden structure. However, it reemerged as the Twisted Colossal of May 23, 2015. So let's go to the Manhattan Project. For those that are not aware, and I feel like this is one of those things that people should be aware of, during World War II, the United States realized that they needed a new weapon, something that would be able to stop and defeat the bad guys or the Alliance. So they gathered scientists together, and it was under the tutelage of Robert Oppenheimer, which there's a movie out right now about him. And it was this secret project that they gathered the scientists together. I don't have all of them written down, but essentially they all gathered to be able to create a weapon in which they would be able to cause enough damage to hopefully stop the war. However, after the usage of said weapon on war, a lot of these men saw the destruction that they caused and thus kind of regretted making such a weapon. And of course, the weapons that we have now, the nuclear weapons out there, are a lot more destructive than the ones that were built in World War II. So the ones from World War II seem like nothing. So that's why there's always a fear of nuclear war. Fun facts. Let's go to something sillier, shall we? Let's go to 5 tips for taking care of your lips. So, Tip number 1, exfoliate. Remove dry, dead skin flakes by gently brushing your lips with a wet, soft toothbrush or washcloth. Then we have hydrate. Unlike the rest of your skin, it tends to dry out and become chappy easily since they do not contain oil glands. Drink lots of water and keep your lips from drying out and avoid licking your lips. So, Shawn, drink more water and you'll have good lips. Protect and moisturize. Lips receive lots of sun exposure, particularly in the bottom lip. That means they can contain spot 4 skin cancer. Scary. So basically just be careful whenever you're out and about. Reapply often. Remember to reapply sun protective lip products every 2 hours, especially after eating and drinking, and finding it helps to keep the SPF lip balm in several places. And last but not least, speaking of products, make sure you're using the right ones. Look for the lip products that have been awarded the Skin Cancer Foundation Seal of Recommendation. This seal is a reward to sun protective products that meets the standards of our photobiology committee. Basically, for what I'm seeing of this is if they have this seal, the Skin Cancer Foundation Seal of Recommendation, just means that it will protect your lips much stronger than any other products out there. So unfortunately, Shawn, it's not just about not using your lips, it's about actually using stuff on it just in case. So if you want to actually rest your lips, Shawn, I recommend treating it to a good massage. So let's talk about the fact that in the 90s, somehow Eric was able to get a paper sent overnight to him. Because that just seemed like, how's that possible, Brett? That's what I kept thinking. Like, how is it in the 90s that's even a thing? Well, I'll tell you. Airmail was conceived early and scheduled service began in 1918. Scheduled airlines carried high-valued and perishable goods from early on, and the most important advance, however, with the hub and spoke system pioneered by Federal Express, also known as FedEx, in 1973. With deregulations in 1977, they were able to establish an air-based system capable of delivering small packages, including mail, overnight through most of the country. In response, the Postal Service initiated a comparable express mail service in the same period. They also began contracting with Amtrak to carry mail by rail. Thus, the turn of the 21st century, the U.S. consumers can choose from a variety of public and private services, offering deliveries at various conditions of speed and cost. So yeah, for almost 20 years, by the time that Eric makes this phone call to get something overnighted, they've had the technology to be able to do it. I'm just going to say it. That's a fail as me being a millennial, thinking that overnighting is just a thing that, that came whenever I was younger. So cool beans. So Corey is wearing something in this episode that I think is very important, Brett.
Yes.
He's wearing a Eagles jersey. So I figured since we see the Eagles, let's go ahead and talk about them, because we can't talk about the sports team of the time period. It's like last year, they didn't want to mention any sports until the end because they wanted to get Corey as far away from sports. But this year, who cares? So the Eagles at this time had of the season in which they're in currently. So it's the beginning of the season. We're looking at the end. So the 95-96 team, their record was 10-6, which is much better than the last two seasons. Head coach was Ray Rhodes. No idea who that is. They actually made the playoffs. John Gruden was the offensive coordinator. That's interesting. They made it to the playoffs. They won in the wild card against the Detroit Lions, and then they lost to the Cowboys 30-11. That's a really weird score. That's why I didn't believe it. But this is the time period in which the Cowboys were on a different level as far as football was compared to most other teams.
Oh, yes.
So they won the Super Bowl this year again.
That was Super Bowl 30. I know. That
The
was
Pittsburgh Steelers.
That was the year we all decided Neil O'Donnell needed kicked out and shipped out of town to New York. Oh, I know it well.
All right, let me just pull up top players then. I opened a wound. Good looking people for Brett. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I got to watch 2 victories after that in Super Bowl 40 and 43. So,
oh my gosh, don't even try to say that you guys won cleanly on that first one.
Well, I don't know what you're complaining about there.
Well, I'm going to be real with you. I mostly just was taking a quick look over to see if there's any names that I recognized, and I don't. So the Pittsburgh to Philadelphia connection, because not everyone lives in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia in the Pennsylvania bubble, I think sometimes people don't realize how big of a state Pennsylvania is, because the actual distance, like time-wise of driving someone would do from downtown Philadelphia to downtown Pittsburgh is roughly 4.5 hours to 5 hours, depending on which way you go, depending upon traffic, and depending upon what suburbs you end up going into and out of. I was thinking about, like, why would someone fly from Philly to Pittsburgh? Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But if he did, like, say, a half day at school, or even, got done and immediately books it to the airport, he could get on a flight about 3:45-ish, around the 90s. You could show up 5 minutes before that flight and be just fine. And then be in Pittsburgh by like 5 o'clock. And as long as someone's willing to pick you up from there, technically, if he does that on a Friday night, he'll make most things. He'll just get some instructions on, what he's supposed to do for the wedding purposes. The wedding's the next day. They're doing wedding stuff all day. And then he leaves the next morning, another hour, 15-minute flight. And it's about $300 to do that now. In all honesty, if you're trying to get in, get out of a place, that's not that bad.
And Pittsburgh has a pretty decent airport, too.
Because if he didn't want to, ride his bike all the way out there, which is fair, and he decided to just, rent, say, a sports car, because that's a pricier thing to rent, honestly, for 2-day rental, it's only, $273. So, if he did that, he would have to take the day off of school, but he could be back by Monday easily. So, all in all, it's not that ridiculous for someone to go to Pittsburgh or to Philadelphia for a wedding. But I think for his lie, and this is mostly a knock on the writers, they should have chosen New York, because it would make sense that he would have to go to New York for a night, a night of the wedding, and stay there for the night and then come back the next day. Especially if he was only going to be gone, only if he needed Saturday. Well, Brett, those are all your deep dives.
All right, so let's find out.
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
What did you learn, Tyler?
So, Brett, what I learned was that, when you have teenagers, you do have to have conversations that are difficult and are hard, and you do have to be willing to explain yourself. And I try that with my 6-year-old. I don't know how much of it really lands on him, but explaining of why you do things as a family, I think, is important, and what it means to carry your family name, and why you want to be the kid's parent. All those things are important, and I think help them grow and be a more well-rounded person.
That's good learning.
Yeah. What did you learn, Brett?
In the vein of learning and being reminded over and over of the same lessons as we always are, I was reminded and relearned just how important it is to remember that we are humans. None of us are perfect. And as parents, we're going to make mistakes. What's important is how we deal with them, how we handle them. If we lose our children and they're stuck for 6 hours on the Colossus, how do we handle that? If our child is having a rough day, how do we handle that? If we get into an argument with our child, or we get caught running a scam on them, how do we handle that? What's important as a parent is how we handle those mistakes, not the fact that we're trying to avoid them. We're going to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Also, I learned that you need to teach your kids actual facts about places. And so making sure people know, like, the Big Apple means New York, City of Angels means Los Angeles, those little things.
Oh, of course. So.
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
What would you grade The Double Lie?
Okay. I need to give a asterisk to this grade.
We're 2 episodes into season 3 and you're already grading with an asterisk.
Well, I haven't given an asterisk to any of our grades so far. Because I am deeply bothered by the whole 15-year-old trying to take girlfriend back to an apartment alone all by themselves. I'm deeply troubled by the fact that Shawn sneaks out. He sneaks out the girl multiple times. Mm-hmm. And I'm troubled and bothered by the fact of that their date is just them making out. That bothers me as a dad. Mm-hmm. However, this is borderline a perfect episode of this season of this show, and really puts to display of that struggle of teenagers and parents dealing with their kids and their kids' friends becoming teenagers, and what all that looks like, and the struggle that it truly is, and the struggle for adults to still be people and themselves, and to not just be a parent. Because my wife and I have that struggle of, because we have a newborn baby, of trying to, still be us and still do things and go on dates, but with a newborn, it's difficult. Mm-hmm. So how do we still be our somewhat fun selves and make time for ourselves and still love and cherish this baby boy? Not to mention the needs of his bigger brother. So it's also that fact of, like, well, if Corey being told his parents are making out is not something that is just immediately grossed out and something he's just kind of, is what it is, that's also encouraging for me. So I have to give it an A+ with the asterisk of 15-year-old, that is gross, you shouldn't do that, and it's still a perfect episode.
I'm putting A+ with an asterisk.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to give it a B.
How dare you?
I love this episode. Well, I had it originally as a B-. I love the episode. I love the Alan interaction with Jonathan. I love the Alan interaction with Shawn. I love the Shawn interaction with Jonathan. There are some logic leaps in the writing that are hard to get through. There is the idea that Shawn is being allowed to just have a date where he's just sitting in the dark in the living room for 2 hours, just making out on a Saturday night, not being encouraged to go do something else. Eric's leap of logic for an overdue term paper by 3 months is a little bit fishy. There's a lot of stuff on the outside that I have to work through, but the heart is still good. I really do enjoy everything that is in the heart. There's just a lot for me to wade through to get to it.
Yeah, that's fair. I do believe you owe me something, Brett.
I do. I owe you a dad joke. So, Tyler, What do you call a woman who's really good at darts?
I don't know.
You call her Amy.
Very nice.
So, good-looking people, that is our episode for The Double Lie. And we'd love for you to connect with us offline on our social media channels. Follow us at Dads Meet World on Twitter /X/ whatever Elon calls it next week, Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com. Or, hey, you know what? We'd love to hear from you with a 5-star review if you think we're worth it at Apple Podcasts or... I don't know.
We'll read them.
Can you leave a review on Spotify?
I don't know.
I don't think
leave
you
a review
can.
somewhere. We'll read it.
I don't think you can, but I know you can on podcasts. So, but yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So let us know how we're doing and how we can bring you more Shawn and Corey goodness.
It's season 3. They're in high school.
High school. So, Tyler, until next week.
They want you to take the roles!
They do. They absolutely want you to.
I'll see you, good looking.
Hi, good looking.
You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid?
You can find Dads Meet World on Facebook, Twitter, and probably a few other places just by searching for Dads Meet World. Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story.
Brett, we've been doing this podcast for 90 years, and every podcast I have Dr. Pepper and Pop-Tarts. I will say, this episode has a lot of great random reactions like that.
Oh, yes. You ready?
Yeah. And that's what has been modeled for oh my gosh. With oh my gosh. I'm just start reading the thing. Hi, I know I need to feed you. I'm sorry. Someone is demanding his evening feed.
You're just mad because your defensive back got tripped up by a quarterback running backwards.
I'm not talking about my team and how we should have won a game that we blew because we had a bad kicker.
I still can't believe
that we shipped out of town 2 weeks later.
As Peyton called him, the idiot kicker. Vander Jag.
But then we got the greatest kicker of all time. So, you know the funniest thing? He actually was a Colt longer than he was a Patriot.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So,